Hello, I'm Catherine Corp.
I'm Kimberly Corp.
And welcome to
Let's Get Wealthy.
And that's WeLLthy.
Today we're here with our favorite instructor. Favorite because she's special. In fact, do you mind us telling your age?
I just turned 81.
81.
And 2 weeks.
Yeah, she's 81 in 2 weeks.
Yes, so, days now.
Yeah, 81 years ago, you would have been a 2-week-old little baby. And Ellen impresses us so much because wasn't it about 10? When did you do your teacher training with us?
I did that in 2010.
2010. So almost 10 years ago, which is just amazing.
So wait, I find it amazing that at 71 you decided to become a certified Pilates instructor. That's impressive.
It's very impressive. So, I mean, first of all, what inspired you to start taking?
Well, I had to close my showroom. I was in the Garment Center as an independent sales rep for a long time, for a good 30 plus years. And I was very good at sales. So that's why I left dancing, actually. But in the meantime, I decided when I closed the showroom, I can't just retire. I mean, that was out of the question. So I came up with 2 words that I found were valid for me. I said, whatever I do, I must feel involved and I must feel productive.
Involved and productive.
Nice. I like that.
And so it had been posed to me about a year prior to that by one of your colleagues. Why don't I become certified? And my immediate response was, are you crazy? Who would hire me? And here we are. And here we are.
Excellent.
That is wonderful.
So you mentioned your dancing background. You have a super cool background. Can you tell us?
She's our most credited instructor. So tell us about your background.
I'm going to have to go back a long time.
That's okay.
Well, I started studying ballet at the Metropolitan Opera House when I was, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8. And I continued from there until came jazz.
Okay.
The famous Luigi.
Yes.
And Matt Maddox, who I still adore. He's in 7 Brides for 7 Brothers. I love watching that. At any
It
rate.
was on over the weekend.
It was. We just watched it.
I love it. At any rate, the minute I found jazz, I gave up ballet. And so I pursued the jazz, and I studied with a lot of the popular instructors or teachers of the day. And ultimately, I auditioned for shows, and my first professional job was at the Westbury Music Fair in their opening season.
Oh my
Very first year, which I think was around 1964.
Oh my goodness.
And from there, I went to do a lot of road companies. I was in the road company of Little Abner, which was for a year. I did a lot of, at the time, industrial shows. I don't even know if they do those anymore.
I don't know if I think there are a few, but there are not as many as they
The
used to.
best one was the Buick show, which we went to Flint, in fact. Flint's been in the news recently with their water, but at any rate. So I did a lot of those kinds of shows. And the World's Fair of 64, 65 really was one of my favorites because of the whole show, the way it was done, and it was a very interesting experience because you did 8 shows per day.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
A constant, and then you had, you did 4 or 5 shows, 4 or 5 days, and then you have 2 days off and then start again. But it was very diversified, and it was a very exhilarating experience.
That's
I'm
amazing.
Sure. It
It
sounds
really was.
amazing.
So you were on Broadway in Little Abner.
Yes, I was on Broadway. Actually, I was at the road company, the original road company. I was on Broadway in a revival of Pal Joey with Bob Fosse, who played Joey.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
That's very cool.
And then No Strings.
And then
that was your favorite, right?
Yes, yes. Everything about No Strings. It was with Diane Carroll and Richard Kiley.
Oh my goodness.
So, and Alvin Epstein, who just recently, unfortunately, passed away. It was a wonderful experience. It was at the Broadhurst Theater.
Oh, cool.
And after that, somehow or other, I think I tried to move on from being in the chorus. And I wound up working, as we all had to, you needed a real job. So I wound up working as a model in the Garment Center, modeling coats.
Okay.
And from there, one day, they asked me to please help out in the showroom, take care of some of the walk-in customers who none of the people who were working as salespeople there, they didn't want to be bothered with the walk-ins.
Okay.
They were above that. So I certainly did. And I found that I not only was good at it, I liked it. And so I ultimately wound up working full-time as a salesperson. And I moved on from coats. I wound up in swimwear,
Oh, goodness.
which is sort of a
Well,
logical...
given your fabulous
Yeah.
body, because we're showing pictures here.
So consequently,
did.
I specialized in swimwear for
Okay.
most of my career. And I did high-end designer. I did several designer lines. And I also did mass-produced large, selling the big chains, hundreds and hundreds of stores. And I kind of liked those orders because they were thousands of pieces, even though the prices were lower.
Right.
But I even won an award, by the way.
Oh.
I won, in my heyday, I won Salesperson of the Year. At that time, they decided they're not going to call it salesman since a woman won. So that
like
was
it.
revolutionary.
That's very, yes,
Sales-
like a pioneer, if you will.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
So,
great.
and it came with a very nice gift, a nice prize, I should say.
Okay. Oh, that's great.
And in fact, I bought, with the prize money, I bought a painting that I still have at home. And I bought a statue of it was a kind of a girl in a lovely pose. So, it has to do with females. And from there, I ultimately opened my own showroom.
That's
That's
amazing.
very cool.
That's
And
amazing.
That's when I started coming here as
Okay.
a student, as
Okay,
a
a
client.
client,
Yeah,
right. So
yeah.
we didn't mention that
So
Ellen
it's
was a client for you.
More than
Yeah.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
It
Okay,
was probably going on, how long is the studio
19,
open?
almost 19 years,
Okay,
so
I
maybe
was-
19 years ago. We're so fortunate.
I would say I was coming here almost not even a year after you opened, it could be.
I think that
Yeah,
sounds about
that
right.
does
Yeah.
sound right. So back when you were on Broadway dancing that many shows, what was the typical maintenance routine for you and your fellow chorus members when you had to dance that much? Was there a system like Pilates, Pilates existed, but did you know about it? Did you do it?
I did not, and I have to confess, of course, I was a lot younger. We didn't, we would go to classes, like the
Right.
jazz
Right.
classes, but those were, like fun things.
Right.
I don't think we really thought about exercising in that
That
way.
makes sense.
That makes sense. So now, I'm sure you had friends when you were a young dancer that were not dancers.
Oh, yeah.
What was the fitness arena like among your friends?
They really, I've been thinking about that and trying to recall, and no, I don't think anybody, they played tennis at the time. I don't think anybody really played golf even then.
It was more recreational, right?
Yes,
It wasn't like I have to go to the gym and work out. It was like if
Exactly.
you do something for fun.
There weren't that many gyms available in the first place. It wasn't what it is today. So,
Amazing.
yeah.
So now Ellen teaches our Golden Pilates class, which is great, and it's meant for seniors.
Gold.
Gold. That's why she's wearing her gold. And we call it
golden.
golden.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, you go ahead.
We call it Golden Pilates. It's really for people in their golden years. So it's for seniors. We figured who better knows how a body feels in their golden years than someone who is an octogenarian.
Yes. So what would you say, as you've noticed with your clients, is the biggest challenge to the golden clients that come?
I think their biggest challenge, and I've been thinking about it, is making the commitment to do the work. And I do see changes in them, improvements, I should say. But I do see the commitment. They really do as best they can, because everybody has issues, and it would be easier for them to just say, I can't deal with this. But they persevere. They really, they try.
That makes sense. I think also once someone starts feeling better, then that's more of an incentive to come. If you're like, oh, I don't know, then you're just like, oh wait, you know what? But when I go, it makes me feel a little bit better.
And I would like to add that when you started teaching for us, we learned a lot, and so did all of our instructors, watching how you taught the Golden Pilates class. Because as anyone knows, if you're a certified Pilates instructor, typical mat work can be the hardest, getting up and down off the floor. And the way you start the class and the way you end the class and what you integrate in the middle was so eye-opening, because it's not something, we certainly, when we went through our teacher training, weren't, you're taught the mat repertoire. You're not taught, and if someone can't do this, do something else. So, how do you start your class typically?
Well, we start actually standing against the wall. We talk about, alignment. That's a key
Right.
with Pilates. And so to get them to forget everything that, on the way over here that happened, and now just focus on, feel your shoulders against the wall, feel your lumbar. Anyway, it's to mainly have them get in touch with proper or improving their alignment, and hopefully take that with them when they leave here.
That's great.
And I think that's great because, as we all know, at the end of the day, we all walk out of a Pilates studio. We don't lie on our back and wiggle. So the fact that, and I've also seen you do a lot of balance stuff, which is nice.
Yes, well, balance has become a major factor in the aging world. Balance is an issue, is a factor, I should say. And so I try to really incorporate more and more of that within the Pilates environment.
Yeah, that's great.
And do you have a favorite prop that you use with the class?
We use the disc, with the little, that we stand on that disc, which
Right, it's kind of wobbly.
Yes,
Yeah,
so
the one that has air in it.
The wobbly
Yeah.
one automatically forces you to control not to wobble.
Right.
And we do various things, raise the leg up a little bit, and stand on one leg. And the ultimate is when they're ready to remove the fingertips from the ledge, to close your eyes, and then everybody kind of wobbles with that. But they like that. I think they really do like it.
Well, you have a strong following. I mean,
Yes.
we've noticed that the clients that come, they're very dedicated, and they like your class very much, which is always a good sign. We all want our clients to like our class, but it's better because obviously they see improvement or see something is happening that's good.
And they feel. I do, by the way, I try to incorporate what they do in the class, to take that with you to your real life outside. When you're dealing with going up and down the subway steps, or the crowds of people, as we know here in the middle of Manhattan, to dealing with how you're going to navigate around if you're going to be, So I think that makes it more real for them also, so that, it's not just 55 minutes here in the studio and then, okay, now I can go back to...
Right, it's not just theory.
Yes.
It's practical application
Exactly,
as well. Cool.
exactly.
Because I have some older clients that I teach, and not my client, but she always tells me that her husband's biggest complaint is getting up and down out of chairs, and that he asked her to buy the pop-up sofa. Have you heard of this? That they make sofas or
They
chairs?
make a sofa, so it's like
They
this,
pop
and
you up.
When you want to get up, it just slowly elevates from this. It would be like,
Wow.
Yeah.
and you'd stand up from there. Yeah.
So she recently swapped out all her furniture for higher furniture because of this problem. And I was like, don't do that. And I've seen that you also have your clients on stability balls, sometimes sitting on balls.
Yeah,
And so, which is absolutely wonderful, because getting out of chair is a very important task.
Yeah.
Very important task.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Because we all need to get up from this position at some point. The other thing that she mentions is, if you drop something, you got to get it, right? And
Oh my gosh, I
yeah,
didn't know
and she's in the situation where her husband is now saying, "Oh, I dropped it. Could you get?" And I'm like, "You need to start making him pick it up." Because it's we've all seen those commercials, and I'm not making a joke. It sounds like I am. I've fallen and I can't get up.
Yeah.
But that is a real dangerous situation, especially if someone lives alone. So what would be your advice for someone who thinks, I think a lot of people think they're too old to start.
Yes.
Well, first of all, you're never too old. Never.
Love that. Love that.
I would actually recommend that they come here and watch a class first and see what it's all about and hear some of the terms, the terminology, or the names, of some of the exercises that we do. I think that's very beneficial, rather than, okay, I'm going to do it and come in. I mean, I've had this happen where they come in, and immediately take a class that they know nothing about. There are other new people that have had experience with Pilates, so they're familiar with it. But after they watch a class and say, I would like to try that, to just make the commitment that I'm going to do this. And I know, let's say they've never done any kind of formal exercise before, to don't over expect that, to just take each class one
Right.
at a time, and
Rome was not built in a day.
and I personally do try also to be, I watch everything each one does and try to encourage by complimenting them and, you know, encouraging them to keep, you know, to keep doing what they're doing.
That's, you know, that is encouraging. I remember when you did your training here, but after you were a client for years, when you actually went through the mat course, how your body changed. And I think most people feel that once you enter your, you know, 60s or 70s, that it's kind of all hopeless, that there's nothing you can do. But we saw your body change in your 70s while you went through the mat course. And
amazing.
we all
Yeah.
were like, wow. I mean, we always knew that Pilates was good and it could do wonderful things, but to actually see it, especially because, you know, when you're young, you think, okay, once I get to that age, there's no hope. There's no hope, there's nothing I can do, and you're living proof that you can actually
Right.
do quite a bit.
I mean, you were just, so what you would know is before we came out here, Ellen was warming up. She's standing there touching her toes, and I'm just like, wow. I mean, it's impressive because I know I have a client in his 30s, and he can't get anywhere near his toes.
Wow.
Yeah, right? So it sounds like, oh, so what to you? But I mean, it's really amazing. So I think it's great. Now, what was your biggest change that you felt in your body incorporating Pilates?
Definitely my stronger core, without question. Without question. I mean, I do the hundreds every day. I take Sundays off.
Oh, good for
I
you.
applaud that decision.
Yeah.
But I think it's more for me, it was more internal
Okay.
as far as understanding, because I also I stress that in my class as well from time to time. Understand and know where the work is coming from. To know what muscle you're using to make this happen.
Right.
And-
That's a good point. That's a really good, because some of the muscles with Pilates, they're not like the big wow factor muscles. They're not like your glutes or your quads where you work them and you
like,
immediately
"I
feel
feel
a burn or
fire,"
something.
yeah.
It's much more subtle and it's deeper than that. So it's a mindfulness. It sounds like that. Mindfulness is
Yes,
kind of like
yes,
a buzzword
yes,
in, the,
yes.
in the industry.
Because I also go to the gym to do some cardio, use the equipment.
You're amazing.
I do the elliptical.
Okay.
At any rate, I watch people. Now I watch a lot of people, both on the street, how they move, and in the class. I can't tell you how many people I see at the gym who really, they think they're exercising. And I mean, my favorite example is they're doing weights and they're doing something with their lats. So they want to do one of these, but they're
Like the whole body
yeah,
is right.
they,
Right.
They recruit, I say. Don't recruit muscles you don't need.
Right.
So, but it goes back to you have to understand what you're trying to achieve in the first place. So I have found that, I think I've gotten off the question.
Oh, no,
that's
you
fine.
haven't.
No, it's,
This
it's
is
very,
fine.
it's very smart. It makes sense that you're teaching people to understand in their own bodies what the goal of the exercise is and what muscle. It's not just, you know, do whatever you can to do this exercise just to please me. It's use the right muscle. It doesn't matter if you can get to here as opposed to here, but don't do this just so you can get the full range of motion. So it's the mindfulness that it's.
And I've heard you teaching, because usually I have a client when you have your class, and you're very motivating, but like not in that irritating way where, like boot campy way where it's like, do 5 more, you know.
boy.
Or like
No,
too
you're-
cheery where you.
Yeah, it was very much like, I know you can do it. And what I love is when you say, I know you can do it, well, who wouldn't believe you? Like if I say I know you can do it, people would be like, well, of course you can, because, you know, I'm younger. So if I'm telling a 70-something-year-old person that, oh, you can do it, they kind of look at me like, but if you, being your age, older than they are, say you can do it, they're probably like, okay.
And I've
I'll
heard
give it
you
a
say
try.
sometimes, if I can do it, you can do it. I'm like, I love her.
Yeah.
But in a way, I think that was why the class was created, is so that that's motivation for me, that I have to make sure I stay fit,
Yeah.
because I'm supposed to be the example. And so if I can't do it, then why
Yeah.
should I want them to be able to look at me and say, well, she can do it, I can do it too.
Well, you're an inspiration to all of us here.
yeah.
All of our instructors, we're all in awe. You know, and we've been showing some of the pictures of
Yes.
Ellen throughout, but we were showing them around the studio today, and we're all like, that's
So cool. Like
So-
it's really, really cool. And so we're so happy that you found Pilates on Fifth. So.
As I am,
Yes.
I certainly am too.
And she's the only instructor that gets a birthday party. So hey, once you hit in your 80s, you get a birthday party here. But no one else
That's
does.
a plus factor. That's the plus benefit, yeah.
Well, thank you so much, and we want to talk to you again about osteoporosis. So,
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. And you can also check out our other videos here.